Roll Tide! Roll Tide Roll! Welcome to the Alabama Crimson Tide Football Podcast. Here are your hosts, Brent Mason and Jamie Thomas.
Here we go, our second ever podcast for the 2015 season, SEC football, Alabama football. I am Brent Mason, joined by my co-host, the Alabama expert, Jamie Thomas. How are you, brother, War Eagle?
Oh, man, I'm great. Roll Tide, Roll Tide, Roll Tide, and Roll Tide.
So we're going to attempt to, well, I'm not. I'm probably just going to sit back and nod my head a lot. Jamie's going to attempt to run down what the ones and twos and starting lineup is going to look like as we head into the 2015 season. I think Alabama, in a lot of senses, is much like Auburn in that there's probably several positions that aren't just locked down tight, but then you probably have some that are foregone conclusions, and you're going to have a couple positions, I think, at least with some interesting battles for starting, right? So we'll jump right in. We'll start with offense if you'd like. Jump right in.
All right. Well, let's start with the simple side of it, the wide receivers.
All right.
We've got not a whole lot of, big playmakers coming back, or I guess you can't say not big playmakers, but guys that really didn't contribute a lot last year just simply because, it was the Amari Cooper show. But Bama running that three receiver set, Robert Foster, Ardarius Stewart, and I think Chris Black will probably be the third starter in that mix. And then, of course, you got Cam Sims and Derek Keefe, both young ball players that have some really good potential that are going to be along. And, they should see some good playing time.
Yeah, we talked about this in last week's podcast. I mean, I think that I like that Ardarius Stewart and Robert Foster a lot. I think you pretty much agreed with that. But there's hardly any position that Alabama doesn't have the opportunity to have some depth at. So that's the good news. Maybe there's a place here or there where it could be better, but that's one thing Alabama generally isn't hurting at is in the depth department. So that's always a good problem to have.
It's a really one to have. Where Bama's going to be hurting a little bit this year, and not as much depth as it is experience. The offensive line. Really, it's Kelly and at center and Cam Robinson at left tackle coming back. That probably the only two starters that are going to be 100% guaranteed to have that position. Nobody's going to beat out Cam. Nobody's going to beat out Kelly. The competition, is going to be at the left guard position. You got Isaac Luatua and Pierce Bacher or something like that. Had a really good spring. The only problem is he lacks a little bit of speed at that guard position. I know it's kind of weird talking about speed and offensive lineman, but you have to have that. Right guard, you're looking at a battle between Bradley Bozeman and Alphonse Taylor. That was a battle in the spring. Bozeman is a really, really big kid, really talented, great footwork. He's the kind of guy that you could really build an offensive line around. But where he lacks again is experience. Hopefully, lining up right next to Ryan Kelly, that won't be too big of a problem. The right tackle position, we've got a junior college transfer in Dominic Jackson. That brings some much needed experience to that side of the line. He's battling with Brandon Green, but it really looks like that Dominic Jackson has the right tackle spot secure going into fall practice.
Yeah, and so he would make it. I mean, he gets that position. That would put you having as I count it, it's at least two seniors you would have up there, right? Is there more?
No, Kelly and Jackson. Kelly really the leader. He's got the experience. He's the field general. Like I said, he calls the blocking assignments. It's going to really be up to him to keep Bozeman and some of the other younger guys in check.
I think we've already talked about the running back situation, which I think is probably the simplest thing to figure out of anything on the field. You don't have running back problems.
Yeah, it's 1A, 1B. Derrick Henry, Kenyon Drake. I think Drake's going to get some of the carries, but I think we're going to be seeing him lined up in the slot a little bit more. Whereas Derrick Henry, I think he may touch the ball 25 or 30 times a game. He's that kind of running back that you got to you kind of got to get his motor running a little bit. But once he starts going downhill, get out of his way, because you do not want to be on those tracks when that coming through.
I tell you what, and I didn't realize that till I was looking at the roster yesterday, trying to learn a little bit about what was going on over there. That Derrick Henley, boy, he's pushing 250, man.
Yeah, he's huge, man. He really is. He's an absolute beast. And I tell you what, I wouldn't want to try to wrap him up.
No. And you got I know you got a couple of freshmen over there. Do you think those guys will get any handle the ball any this year, or be put in special packages, things like that?
We've seen it in the past. Freshmen they don't play a whole lot for Saban. As with it not being as deep this year, I think some of those guys, they could see the ball a little bit. But I really think this is going to be the year of Derrick Henry. As far as the touches in the backfield, I think Kenyon's going to be the Amari type playmaker that we saw last year. Whenever you need a first down or whenever you need a play, find Kenyon Drake, just because he's that Reggie Bush style athlete that can make things happen. But I believe Kenyon's going to be the workhorse, and he's going to get probably 85% of the carries out of the backfield.
So the quarterback position, from our first week podcast, I gather from you that you believe Jacob Coker is going to be the guy no matter what. Is it open from there for the number two? Who draws the number two? Is that more open, or is that locked in as well?
Well, you got Cornwell, you got Bateman, and then you got this super kid Blake Barnett coming in. It's going to be a good battle to see who's number two, and really it could turn out to be a pretty good battle to see who's number one. It really just depends on how far Coker has progressed since the spring. He didn't have that great of a spring. I think he was like 14 for 28 or 14 or 30. Cornwell was 12 or 24. Personally, I like David Cornwell a little bit better just because he's bigger. He can run the ball. I think Coker's kind of limited on what he can do as far as just being a pocket passer. I like the idea of a quarterback and being able to get away from the rush. But if you look at what Saban's done in the past, Coker has the experience advantage. So if I had to bet, I would say it's probably Jacob Coker.
I tell you one thing, I went and looked down the lineup again yesterday, and the one thing that jumped out at me, man, is all these guys physically are almost clones of each other. They're all either like 6'4", 6'5", 220, 230.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, they're all big. Ain't none of them little. I mean, they're all big guys. And I watched a little bit of video on that David Cornwell because I wasn't familiar with him that much. And he's got some mobility, that kid does.
He's a big kid too. I mean, really, he is. He's it's just crazy if you watch videos and watch what he can do, how he throws the ball on the run. Bama fans, should really be excited about him. They should really be excited about Blake Barnett as well. I think Barnett's coming in. He's going to be the future, but I think he's at least 2 years away from really competing for that job.
So the thing that Alabama has been known for the past decade or so, or even longer, but especially the Nick Saban era, is just stifling defenses. What you think about the defense? What do we got where, and how you think the defense is looking?
Well, I mean the starting 11. I mean, not a whole lot of difference from last year. You've got a few changes. Jonathan Allen, Jaron Reed, Ashawn Robinson are the front three. I think as far as defensive ends, I think you're going to see DJ Petway in there quite a bit, subbing Allen, subbing Robinson. I think Dalvin Tomlinson's still a little ways away from seeing a ton of playing time, but I think he's close to being ready. Maybe halfway through the season, we're going to see a lot more. Jaron Reed at defensive tackle, and Darren Lake. I mean, those two guys. You talk about clones. You look at them. Really, they're really one of the same. I mean, they're both just big, ugly dudes that are going to get in there, going to stop up a hole, and going to cause all kinds of problems. Darren Lake, 6'3", 315 pounds, man. I mean, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Linebackers, Reuben Foster, Sean Hamilton, swapping out at the mic. Reggie Ragland probably going to be, the will linebacker. He deserves it. Had a kind of a down year last year. I guess he admitted himself that he didn't play up to his own standards. I think this is going to be the year of Reggie. The dude's a headhunter, and he plays that position really well. And I think he's going to be our defensive leader. He's going to be the guy on the field, that we saw with D'Amico Ryans, or we saw, with some of the other big-time linebackers that have come out of Alabama. He's going to be that guy that everybody looks to make the big play. Right.
I'll tell you where that Reggie Ragland is impressive, man, and I like to watch him play, especially when you called him a headhunter, and that's right. I love it when he gets what he's looking for, and he gets to come at that line free and clear on about a 10-yard head of steam. Man, he just lays them out like wood, man. It's crazy to watch that kid when he's on fire like that.
Yeah, the dude's 6'2", 6'3", and the 260 mark, man. He's put on about another 10 to 12 pounds of muscle this year. So I think he's going to be coming up from about 250 to 260, 265. And when you've got that much meanness just coming at you wide open, you better get out of the way.
And you got you just got all kind of backs to choose from.
The problem is the depth is, in the secondary has not been. They just haven't performed, and there's still a couple of guys out there. We're hoping to see improvement out of Eddie Jackson, hoping to see improvement out of Geno Smith, hoping to see a lot of improvement out of Cyrus Jones. Cyrus really got beat up, in a lot of games last year. He had some tough times, but.
Well, those guys are your seniors.
Yeah, well, I think the big playmaker in the backfield is going to be Tony Brown. The dude's got charisma. He really likes to make big plays. He's a sophomore this year. Going to be starting. That says a lot. If you're a sophomore and you're starting at one of the corners for Nick Saban, he's got to be high on you. 6 foot. Like about 6 foot 200, somewhere in that range. He's fast. He can get up. He can make the play. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. That's definitely the biggest spot Bama needs to improve in defensively. But getting back to the topic, we're looking at Cyrus Jones and Brown manning the quarters, and Geno Smith and Eddie Jackson at the free safety and strong safety position.
Well, I like Geno Smith, and it's his senior year, but I like Geno Smith. I'll just be honest with you, those other names I don't recognize. Isn't that horrible?
There's still some guys that going to have to prove themselves. Marlon Humphrey, Ronnie Harrison, Lawrence Jones, who's was a big time recruit at the strong safety. I could really see him getting some good playing time if Eddie Jackson's woes continues to.
It looks like the strongest part of your defense again this year. From an experience standpoint and from getting it done. It looks like up on the line, Alabama's should be reasonably set there. It looks like the strongest part of the squad. Am I wrong about that?
No, you're right. Defensive line, linebackers. That's where you make the money right there. Those guys are big time. It just always seems to be, a good one or a great one leaves, and they just put another great one right there behind them. It's been the secondary for the last couple of years is where the problem has been.
So what's your? You want to talk about special teams?
And we know we've had some problems with the field goal kicking.
Yeah, and I hope that don't get no better, personally. It's just...
Bama's got that freak of a punter, J.K. Scott. That dude just absolutely. I think he was averaging over 55 to 60 yards a kick last year. We know he's going to be the starter at punter. Who knows about place kicker? It seems like we've got one guy coming in, and I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he's supposed to be some just an absolute freak. Kicking 70-yard field goals.
Burgess Becker?
Yeah, I think that's him. Maybe that's him. But, right now it looks like Adam Griffith's going to be the place kicker. And, that's for Bama fans, that's scary.
So we talked about this over on the Auburn podcast. The couple different positions I think are the ones that are going to be interesting. What do you see as going to be interesting, or do you see any? Do you think it seems like you're pretty sure about most everything you listed off? Do you see any battles that we should watch closely? Names we should be watching closely in fall camp?
Well, there's going to be a quarterback battle.
No doubt.
It's a matter of how much Jacob Coker has learned, how much he's bonded with his wide receivers in the offseason. Is it going to be him or is it going to be Cornwall? Is it possible that Cooper Bateman could step up? I mean, there's just a lot of questions that have to be answered. I think right now the only surefire answer you can give on that is it won't be Blake Barnett starting, and it won't be Alec Morris. But I think you've got three quarterbacks that are going to be in the quarterback race. Other than that, I mean, not really. Bo Scarborough could see a little bit of time running the football. Defense is pretty set. Wide receivers are pretty set. Offensive line is pretty set. OJ is going to be the tight end. Don't see a whole lot of battles other than really the main quarterback battle.
All I know is I'm just excited to get it on. What's your opening game?
Wisconsin.
Yeah. I couldn't remember what it was. I knew it was a pretty good other conference team, so it wasn't going to be shouldn't be a bore fest. It should make things interesting.
Wisconsin's a big physical football team.
Yeah, so I mean, it's one of those years where opening weekend is I'm just really pumped up about it. Auburn's not playing a complete rollover team. Alabama's not playing a complete rollover team. It's enough to make you really nervous and enough to make you excited all at the same time. And, boy, talk about setting a tone for the season. If Alabama can go in and just steamroll Wisconsin and just look good, man, that would be the way for Alabama to start the season.
Yeah, it sure would be nice. I don't think it's going to happen. Wisconsin's been getting better and better. I think it's going to be a good, hard-fought football game. And I think both of those teams have a chance. Really, the winner that comes out of that is going to have a good shot of making it to the Final Four this year.
A reminder that we do an Auburn podcast as well. So if for some reason you're an Alabama fan that's glutton for punishment, you can also check out the Auburn podcast. All those come down on the same app, which is free if you're an iOS user. Just search for Tigers and Tide in the App Store. And you can also subscribe to the podcast. We're available on, we're pending on iHeartRadio. Should be approved soon. The TuneIn Radio we're available on. Stitcher is pending approval. Should be ready by in a couple of days, I think. iTunes, of course, and on YouTube. All those listed under Tigers and Tide. And if you would like, you can just go to any of the podcast page at southeasternfootball.com, any page that has a podcast on it, and you'll see all the ways you connect with us. Just click them, subscribe to the podcast, download the app, and that way you'll never miss an episode. And I should mention this. I'm hoping this year we'll maybe bring some guests in on the show, which would be pretty cool.
That would be awesome.
That should be fun. I think it'd be great because I think like 1 week I'll bring in an Auburn fan with me so we can double team you. And then in the interest of fairness, I'll let you bring on an Alabama guy with you, and y'all can double team me in 1 week. So that should be good.
I think we should wait about 3 weeks into the season just to see how it's gonna look. Because if Alabama looks like they're gonna be horrible, then you won't need any help dogging me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if Auburn looks bad third week in the season, there just won't be any more Auburn podcasts. I'm just telling you that right now.
I'm gonna dog you all day long, buddy.
All right, brother. I appreciate it. We'll do it again next week. How's that sound?
All right. Sounds good, man. Roll Tide.
Where you go, bro?
Thanks for listening. Download our free iOS app. Just search for Tigers and Tide in the App Store. And subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and iHeartRadio. Just search for Tigers and Tide. And for the latest SEC news, log on to southeasternfootball.com.